Here at the Thomas Usloff Business Center, right in the heart of New York City on the corner of East 40th and 5th Avenue. We have some amazing resources and some amazing services, just like today's guest speaker, Claire McGovern from Rhyme Studio. But before I turn it over to herself, I have a few housekeeping rules. The library uses Zoom, but does not own Zoom. Zoom has its own privacy policy that my colleagues will shortly put on the chat screen. Please read that section that refers to third-party library service providers to understand how you and the library uses this service. Today's event is being recorded. It will be sent tomorrow morning. If you do have a question or comment, just definitely put it in the Q&A. Probably if you're from Ireland or from wherever in the US or the world, you can always say in the comments or in the Q&A where you're from. And also for those people who need it, closed captioning is enabled. So welcome aboard, Claire.
Thank you very much, James. Thank you, Anthony, and to all the team at New York Public Library for hosting me today. This is a subject that very much informs our product development from my company, Rhyme Studio, and our research over almost a decade now. So I am delighted to present for the first time our vision behind the thinking for design driven by material intelligence. So I'm going to share my screen. Just 1 second here. So let's go to this. Go to full screen. Okay, so hang on. So my name is Claire McGovern. My company is Rhyme Studio. We're a New York and Ireland based design practice. We began in interior design, art advisory, and we have since moved into design manufacturing. Without further ado, though, I'm going to get into a bit more of an introduction on what we do and what we make a little bit later. But suffice to say, the last 2 years particularly, we've been moving towards developing the company into a regenerative luxury design platform, and I'll explain how that's happening shortly. But why we're here today, and what I really want to expand upon, what is material intelligence? So, material intelligence is the capacity of material to perform multiple beneficial functions simultaneously while reducing environmental burden. So this is really, I think, the most succinct way we can put it. We see that today there is a hidden material crisis. There is definitely a growing recognition that we have a material crisis. But essentially most interior materials are specified according to aesthetics, cost, durability, code compliance, and overwhelmingly industry habit. But still, to this day, very few are specified according to their total contribution to human well-being. And this has been one of the driving forces behind our design practice and innovation. Oops, excuse me. So, material intelligence is something that supports human health, and we can summarize that in terms of a few core categories: environmental performance, carbon storage, renewability, biodegradability, circularity, indoor air quality, VOC reduction, that's volatile organic compounds, moisture regulation, thermal comfort, sensory comfort, and acoustics, a very significant discipline, and also of growing concern, certainly as, you know, human civilization has been becoming so increasingly urbanized, and still that trend is very much urbanization. Light quality, biophilia, and tactile experience. And lastly, I would say cultural performance. This is very often something that I don't see included in material presentations or sustainability kind of proposals, local economies, how do we support local economic development? How can design support that? The traditional knowledge, the traditional skills, and the regional identity. So why are interiors dominated by petrochemical um, materials? Why do we continue building healthy buildings from unhealthy materials? And why do we assume performance belongs to synthetics only? And these are very much the characteristics of the present day. So I'll take you into really a quick dive into history so that we can understand how exactly we got here. The Industrial Material Revolution is something that really took off. Obviously, the Industrial Revolution began over 250 years ago. The Material Revolution, certainly in the last 150 years. And during the 20th century, as this grew, essentially we did forget about the intelligence of nature because standardization, scalability, and uniformity were key. So new ultimately became the definition of what was better, and natural materials became outdated. PVC, polyester, nylon, acrylic polyurethane, petrochemical foams, these are all derived from fossil fuels. They cannot be produced without fossil fuels. They're cheap, scalable, consistent, and they're very easy to manufacture. And so sadly, nobody really put a focus on the life cycle of these products or even the environmental impacts until very recently. So today's dominant petrochemical material, over 90% of carpet manufactured globally today is synthetic. Most interior acoustic products are synthetic, upholstery textiles, decorative surfaces, the list goes on. As mentioned, fabrics like nylon fibers, they can't be produced without fossil fuels, they emit VOCs, and they essentially really have no truly credible recycling concept. There certainly is an example of synthetic products flooding the market today. They are from recycled content, and yes, that is some measure of environmental standard, but quite honestly, they don't get recycled, and they cannot repeatedly be recycled, and they will essentially off-gas for generations in landfill. Another aspect of the age we're living in today is we've become remarkably comfortable moving materials thousands of miles around the globe. In fact, for some products, materials might move several times around the globe, while simultaneously and very sadly treating local resources as waste. So wool, wool will be expanding on quite a bit, considering it's our primary material source. But in 1900, it was one of the world's most important commodities. And by the 1950s and then into 1960, I would say the innovation of nylon in the 1960s was a seismic shift in the whole fiber industry, and petrochemicals began to transform manufacturing. So cut to 1980 and of course to the present day, again, polyester, propylene, nylon, all of these variations on synthetics, PVC, they dominate flooring. Polyester dominates textiles, and the list goes on. So the dominant material choice in our interiors is increasingly disconnected from material performance. So just to break it down for you, the material intelligence spectrum, this really helps kind of elucidate exactly. We're putting a quick focus on flax, cork, and mycelium. Wool, you can see where it succeeds on this chart, and of course polyester follows last, and all of the various ways in which it just does not offer the same performance as any of these other natural fibers. So flax. Flax is a beautiful fiber. We haven't worked with it yet. We're looking forward to doing so soon. This is an example of a flax field. certainly is one of humanity's oldest cultivated fibers. Beautiful, gorgeous blue flowers when in bloom. Its intelligence story is quite lovely. It grows in poor soils, which is obviously of great importance to agriculture today. It's a strong fiber. It has wonderful moisture regulation, biodegradable, durable. Everybody understands the quality of linen products and bedding and clothes. And interestingly enough, while we could dedicate a whole presentation to this history. Ireland's linen history is an interesting example of what happened to the linen trade because at the turn of the last century, Ireland had, I think, the biggest linen trade in the world, mostly, I think, coming out of Belfast and the north of Ireland. And for a variety of factors that we'll cover shortly, today, I think the vast majority of linen sold in Ireland is not made in Ireland, and with the exception of a few wonderful farmers, designers who are really trying to reinvigorate the flax industry here, it's not grown in Ireland any longer. So cork is needs no introduction. Hopefully, it's a wonderful material. It can quite vitally be harvested without harming the tree, which is a critical kind of component of a quality natural material, renewable and regenerative. A very good example of how nature already solved many problems for humanity. Cork is really coming into its own in the last couple of decades, and it has got a wide variety of uses. We're looking forward to working with it someday. Here's an example, a close-up of what it actually looks like. Wonderful acoustic abilities, thermal, it's lightweight, you can use it as flooring, wall paneling. In this interior, it's a good example of cork wood flooring. And of course, it's biodegradable. Mycelium is fascinating to a lot of designers now. It's still in early stages in terms of really understanding its benefits and abilities. This is an example of, I always think of, I think is it Paul or Peter Stamets, that mycologist expert who has a whole line of products now. This is just a wonderful example of how it can exist and how essential it is to the ecology of a forest floor. But it is grown rather than manufactured. It has a low temperature production. And very interestingly, I think to a lot of scientists and experimenters today, it can grow on waste. So that has some very intriguing implications for, human use, etc., and what it can do for environmental standards. But performance claims are early stage. This is an example of an interior with a mycelium wall panel. And wool, nature's miracle fiber. And so wool is something that our design manufacturing really took off with wool, and we're still working with it today, and we've become great proponents of it, given its most extraordinary performance abilities. And it is undoubtedly the most circular fiber in existence. So it's an active environmental material. There's so much to say about wool. We're going to focus on this for quite a bit. It really is one of the most intelligent materials available to the built environment today. And sadly, it's been systematically undervalued for almost the last, really since the 1950s. The market started to bottom out for wool. So this is an example of, the fiber structure. There is nothing else like it in nature. It's very unique. And unfortunately, what is happening with wool, current estimates put global wool waste at about 75%, which is pretty shocking. And while I'm not certain that that's entirely accurate, it is frequently discarded. The global market for it is utterly depressed and it's burned or buried. And generally speaking, as is true in Ireland, the farmers cannot even get paid enough to shear the sheep, which needs to happen on an annual level for the health of the sheep. So what led us to debut our first lighting and acoustic design collection, LanaLux, which I'll get into shortly, was this extraordinary ability that wool can offer in the interior. So it is the only fiber known to nature that can actively improve indoor air, and it's an innate ability to absorb VOCs, volatile organic compounds. So this would include formaldehyde, sulfur dioxide. Formaldehyde is very present in commercial interiors, and it would very often in the glues, in furniture, etc. What is also extraordinary is how quickly wool can remove formaldehyde from interior air. It can happen within the space of 24 hours. So it really is, in the right proportions, it is simply a no-brainer to have in your home. So you can hear the chart shows how, comparison between wool and nylon and what they do for interior air. And LanaLux. So LanaLux is the collection we debuted in the last few months to a great response, and it evolved out of years of research and experimenting with wool carpet and various different product developments. So woolen acoustics is something that we really wanted to develop an architectural system with. And wool has extraordinary sound absorption ability, reverberation control. So a thick wool carpet will actually perform this acoustic quality in an interior. The Rime Studio standard for carpeting, although we do custom constantly, is a 16 millimeter pile height. And so we have proven studies as to what that'll do in your home. It has a great absorption rate. Stronger, our preferred wool source is from Ireland, our sole wool source actually. And the strong Irish wool could be qualified as a stronger wool. It's a thicker fiber. And the science already shows that the thicker the fiber, the better the absorption rate, and possibly also the air filtration. But at a scientific acoustic level, the estimated NRC range, noise reduction coefficient, is NRC, and that's 0.06, 0.9, depending on the quantities and the number of panels, the thickness, the configuration and mounting condition. So this is a slide that we've had part of our company presentation really since I'd say 2020. And just as a list of really all the attributes of wool, the list goes on. It's probably a lot to digest, but it's all there on one slide. Another aspect of wool, humidity, hygroscopic behavior, moisture buffering. So another really incredible feature of it is it can literally absorb 30 to 40% of its own weight in moisture. So it will absolutely regulate humidity in an interior. So it's constantly interacting with the environment. There really is nothing else like it. Natural flame retardants. So this is one that has massive implications for the commercial interiors world, and one that we just do not see adequately represented yet, which has galvanized our own product development and design. But it has an inbuilt innate flame retardance. There is no other fiber that has this. You can see the comparative chart here with other materials. It requires unusually high temperatures to ignite. It will literally self-extinguish a flame. If it's a hugely aggressive fire, you really have to work very hard to ignite wool. It will self-extinguish and it doesn't melt or drip. It is true material intelligence. And carbon neutrality. Of course, the life cycle of wool is probably pretty obvious to most people. I mean, it begins in the grasslands, on the sheep, when the atmospheric carbon is captured. It's carbon neutral. The carbon remains stored in wool throughout its useful life. So it participates in cycles of growth, use, and regeneration rather than extraction, consumption, and disposal, which is essentially the paradigm of the synthetic fiber world. And then the circularity of it, it is true to say it is the most circular fiber, and it is also the most recyclable and recycled. So it is a perfect kind of circular life cycle, as you can see here. Performance and durability. Many sustainability discussions do focus entirely on carbon, but they actually rarely discuss lifespan. And when one is trying to make the most informed, sustainable design purchase, lifespan is obviously something that is really important to consider. A well-made quality wool carpet will not only last decades, but possibly generations, and particularly stronger wool fiber. While it's a little coarser to the skin, it is, in our opinion, the best and highest performance rate for underfoot. Um, and of course, with respect to the air filtration and air purifying qualities of this fiber, a good quality wool carpet will do exactly that. So I would say this quote from Buckminster Fuller has been very fundamental to my design practice development. We really are built on a material intelligence design approach at this point, and Irish wool as our primary material choice, and the history of it, and the current depressed, collapsed market standard. We see it as very central to this advantage. The Irish wool story is one of many, sadly, across the globe. Um, so a problem worth solving is really, what also has galvanized us into developing our various design collections and manufacturing direction and standard. It is very true to say that it's documented, it's proven, there are standards in commercial interior design that are making people unwell today. Synthetics are absolutely a primary cause of microplastics. Um, 90% of carpets being made from synthetic is really the standard. Noise pollution and the wool waste that we spoke of earlier, and the lack of authenticity with all this mass production lately. We have lost, I think, the grasp on what is truly authentic. So we see it today in terms of hopefully that a natural materials revolution is about to take place, is untapped design potential for that, and also developing integrated design solutions that offer multiple functions and resolve specific problems, as we've mentioned. In 2020, obviously a big year for humanity, but this is what was going on with wool, and an image that always stuck with me because this, I think, was a Welsh farmer who either Welsh or Scottish, I can't recall, but he was so frustrated with the complete depressed market standard. Literally, his shorn fleeces were deemed worthless. So you have to really put a lot of kerosene or petrol on fleece to get it to burn like that, but he succeeded. And this is his protest. So, why did wool lose its value? Considering in 1950 it was still considered one of the most important fibers, but by today it is still barely 1 to 2% of global fiber production. So a huge driver of this is fashion, undoubtedly. I would say the interiors world, which I inhabit, is kind of a close second. That synthetics are huge in the fashion world, in the interiors world. And if there is a preference for wool and fashion, it seems to be something such as merino, which is a much finer wool for apparel. Um, Another aspect as to why this has taken place is that offshoring. I think you can see it in Europe and you can see it in America as just examples of two continents where literally manufacturing, particularly in the carpet, textile, and fiber world, has just shifted to the Far East or overseas. And the consequence of that is most certainly that the local fiber produced, say, for example, in certain European countries, the local manufacturing is no longer there to support the development and the economic health of that fiber. And lastly, one key detail that's important to understand is that in the last, I think, 40 some years, sheep have become valued for their meat, and wool has become classified as an animal waste byproduct. So this is how we can answer the question how a material with extraordinary environmental performance characteristics, such as wool, how it became economically worthless. Um, so for us at Rhyme Studio, we have now we're coming up on almost a decade of discovery and product development. We began working with Irish wool in 2017, and it was initially to be part of was the beginning design series in a multimedia design collection that was to be sustainable luxury. That was the overarching theme of it. And then we realized nobody was working with Irish wool in Ireland. And today we now have 8 carpet and tapestry collections. Earlier this year, we debuted an architectural wool program, which is customizable. It is built on the material intelligence of stronger wool, its extraordinary performance, health and wellness attributes. Our forays into wool and all our product development has led us to Donegal, and a fascination with the Donegal textile heritage is a wonderful county. And lastly, LanaLux, which we formally debuted in the last few months, has already been referenced. We're very flattered by this as a new frontier for lighting and acoustics, and of course, its air filtration ability. So, a note on Ireland, my homeland, and I want to just kind of set the stage for the truth of what has been happening in Ireland. It is still, to this day, as would most European countries be, it's dominated by imported wools. Sadly, most Irish textile carpet makers use New Zealand wool, although we see signs of that changing, which is great, and starting to work with Irish wool. Most Irish knitwear brands use primarily non-native wools. Um, the Irish Grown Wool Council, of which we're a founding member, was set up to restore value to Irish grown wool. And it's an all Ireland initiative connecting farmers, designers, manufacturers, and researchers, and is an advocacy for the environmental, cultural, and economic value of Irish wool, currently dramatically undervalued. So we like to reference it as the Irish wool paradox because Ireland has millions of sheep. I think 4.5 million last time we checked. It has many centuries of wool heritage, native wool breeds, such as the Galway, one of our favourite. It has a wonderful tradition of historic spinning, weaving, and carpet making. And it was once one of the most prosperous woolen producers in Europe. Sadly, today, the native wool has little economic value. Of course, it's subject to the same concern that, this dominance of synthetic fibers and also the domestic processing infrastructure has largely disappeared, which we would love to see returned. We think the Irish wool story is very much an exceptional case study for reformation of European Union and indeed setting an example for international policy. The American woolen market is also completely decimated and collapsed. So this is true really across the globe. Um, One of our favorite wools, as I mentioned, the Galway, one of Ireland's most renowned heritage breeds. You can see this wonderful quality of the fleece here, which we are using for carpet. So I think before we dive into just giving you an overview of our carpet and tapestry wool surfacing collections, I want to preface the fact that a carpet is not just a surface, it's an active contributor to health and well-being in the realm of air, sound, moisture, safety, comfort, carbon, and beauty. Architectural wool is the program I mentioned, which we're very focused on developing, wool surfacing to accommodate all of these wonderful attributes. And also, it has to be reiterated that a wool carpet will really provide all of these various performance factors, which, in the context of most architectural products today, delivering one or two functions. This is a pretty incredible list. So our new architectural system, a wool-based system for light, sound, and air, LanaLux, it really evolved out of the need to also develop our first lighting design collection. We're excited it's finally out. But the question, what if lighting could also improve acoustics and indoor air quality? So it is a multifunctional design, and I'll show you now how it works. We debuted at New York Design Week in May, and we also presented it at North America's biggest design event, which is in Chicago every June, NeoCon. And we're proposing a new direction for interior materials with LanaLux, where light and acoustics and atmosphere are considered together rather than separately. We also have been aware for quite a few years in the acoustics world how little there is some presence for wool in acoustic product design. Not enough, not remotely enough. The dominant material is PET, which of course is a petrochemical fiber. It's wonderfully versatile. You can do lots of great things with PET. And some of it can be, 50-60% post-consumer recycled content. It is not recyclable. It does not offer more than one or two functions, unlike wool. And it's definitely, it is the likely cause of microplastics in the interior. So we offer a material different approach with LanaLux. We're also now just beginning to work with some of the weavers in Donegal, these remarkable companies who have these gorgeous wool blends, and using a rich woven, the thicker the better, woolen textile on our LanaLux designs only enhances these acoustic and filtration qualities. So some other designs in this series. So this is one of the more experimental pieces to show the complexity of range. We have more simple designs here, but the lighting specification and offering is circadian lighting, tunable white range. We can customize. This is our standard 2700 Kelvin to 4000, which covers most of the morning bright light to evening more moderated, like calming illumination standards. This piece is called Jazz Age, which is a system now of 5 panels. As you can see, with the central LED bar illuminating the piece, and also backlit LEDs to illuminate and wash the wall. The more panels you use in a LanaLux design, the better the performance level you're receiving with that piece. Woven Modern is involving some textiles made by Studio Donegal, one of an incredible wool and weave company. that we're now working with. This is our first prototype development and also the installation at New York Design Week. And then, of course, the architectural system that's involved in this. We can make anything, ceiling or wall panels. We can make any kind of design. And these are just some examples of various shapes and forms we can create. And so we're very connected to Ireland, having started the business in New York City, but also now we're incorporated in Ireland and expanding here to cater more to the Irish and European market. And one thing as we grow and develop our own permanent studio space that we're very conscious of is representing, and encapsulating the history and the heritage of skills that have been lost in Ireland. And that we will be expanding on, I think, soon, hopefully in another presentation, as it's a project in progress right now. So what comes next? The future is definitely not better or more synthetics. The future has to be, we hope it's going to be designing architectural systems from regenerative biological materials. And it is scientifically proven, as most people, I think, accept today. When we're closer to nature, we really are happier, calmer, more connected to ourselves and to the world around us. This informs good design, of course. So we will just give you a quick overview, and unfortunately these are not pretty statistics, but they deserve to be mentioned. The snapshot of today's carpet industry that we found ourselves in the midst of once we got going with Rhyme Studio Irish Wool Design. There is fast carpet, and it is most certainly a lot of it is synthetic. But as to the recyclable qualities of carpet, 89% goes to landfill. That's extraordinary. New York State, just as one example, generates about 515 million pounds of carpet waste annually. Sadly, Europe also generates a considerable amount of carpet waste. And then just to give you an example of obviously how consumer standards have increased from 1960 to today. 2 million tons of furniture a year were thrown away in 1960. Today, it's more than 12 million. And certainly standards of that in the European Union as well. Another aspect of the carpet industry that we found ourselves in the midst of is that all these Western carpet makers, some of the bigger brands, they produce in developing countries. So you will find that there is a wide variety of materials involved, that they come from other parts of the globe. They will be shipped to factories in the Far East. There are protections for these workers, but no regulatory framework for production. There is no requirement for transparency, and there is no environmental accountability. So synthetic fibers like nylon, they are very durable on some levels, but if they are not as stain resistant as wool. They absolutely are not. And if repeatedly stained, they do permanently hold that stain and they cannot be cleaned. The average synthetic has about that lifespan of 3 to 5 years. So the reality is still to this day, it is the customer, it is a business like mine, the specifier, or other companies, like-minded companies that are only the ones who can drive change on this matter. So we've always maintained that good design is sustainable and based on a great story. We've been lucky enough now to place some of our pieces in some gorgeous interiors between America and Ireland. Revival Irish Wool is certainly a designation we consider that in the fibre that we're using. And some other examples of various designs. This is a design piece from our modernity collection, one more kind of modernist inspired piece, customizable. It's also a tribute to a very famous symbol in Irish culture, which is called the Bridget's Cross, St. Bridget's Cross, a talisman of protection. Supreme, another design. There is a 1600-year-old alphabet in Ireland that was something I grew up with. It has influenced many artists and designers. I was delighted to eventually be able to take this extraordinary and mysterious ancient calligraphy and develop it into a contemporary design collection, which for us is also veering on the realm of neuroaesthetics and wellness and design. We're really interested in expanding in neuroaesthetic design, which essentially means it's all about really, it's not just the quality of the material or the design piece or its attributes that you're bringing into your home, although those are all very important, but really, what does it mean? And so we've been able to take this design collection as an ancient 1600-year-old alphabet and start spelling various words for it for clients and projects, customizable to suit this spells health, which you have to, in order to be most faithful to this alphabet, you translate from English into Irish and then into Agam, it's called, or Om. And so this spells Sláinte, or health. This is another installation overlooking Galway Bay. This spells Suiveness, which is a beautiful word in the Irish language. It means calm, contentment, or peace. And then a recent installation, our first project installed in London last month. These are some early photos of how it came out, and what it means is anam, which translates into soul, essentially. Interestingly enough, anam, oscuelga, or in the Irish language, is the same word as soul in Persian. It also exists in the Persian language. And a single character piece, which represents the rowan tree. So a quick shot of our Brooklyn studio, and then another collection, a quick overview of this. So we're still developing this design collection, and we look forward to bringing this wool, which is basically the natural color of the sheep, into interior design. It is a gorgeous, rich, chocolatey brown. It's called, you can call it the Irish Zvortblaz or Zvortables. It was brought to Ireland in the 90s, and there are a few hundred farmers of it now. This is the type of wool that in medieval times it was considered utterly worthless, and then really over until the present day. It is also, I think, effectively considered worthless because you couldn't dye it. You can only dye off-white wool, not the dark brown. So these are some of the designs we've developed out of it. We've combined the traditionally worthless wool with silk here. And then our most recent collection, which is growing, is a tribute to Ireland's architectural heritage. There are so many intact and ruined castles across this small island. We've got lots of designs coming in these series. This one is called Citadel. Interestingly enough, we certainly were imagining what the interiors of these castles back in the day. Honestly, when most of them were built, the only fibre available to them was wool. So wool was really a critical kind of interior component to the castle in the form of tapestry, softening those stone walls and floors. A more contemporary collection, rug as sculpture, the Trinity series, is some installations of this piece. We used the spiral of Theodorus, ancient Greek mathematician, as the basis for carpet design, which has inspired some very interesting interiors. And the Insula series is our first collection for the company. It's a limited edition, and it was very dear to my heart, a tribute to 7th century Irish art, which I feel is an artistic discipline that has informed so many that have come since. Um, One of the pieces, Cree, which means heart in Irish, and some various installations. This is Ireland House in New York City. Um, and we now have a commercial upholstery program. So through our growing collaborations with weavers in Donegal, we're offering commercially graded wool textiles. So these are some examples. Um, Various gorgeous tweeds, unique to that part of the world. Um, and one of my favorite pieces lately by an Irish fibre artist called the Galway Wool Tapestry, Michelle Hickey Leger. This is a gorgeous piece we have currently on display in New York City. And last but not least, I have to give a little shout out to the two artists I represent and still work with. One is one of Ireland's finest sculptors, Helen O'Connell. She does amazing stone sculptural work, and Ian Sheldon, who's a storm chaser. And that is concludes our presentation. And thank you so much for listening.
Well, thank you so much, Claire. I mean, absolutely fabulous to listen to that whole history of the wool industry, the designs that have come into being with your company. It's incredible that you're trying to bring back a very ancient material and make it more dominant in today's world. So it's definitely very interesting. So for those people who are listening today, if you do have a question or comment, definitely put it in the Q&A. I'd love to hear from you. So I'm assuming the majority of the wool that comes from New Zealand, is that merino wool?
Well, no, it's New Zealand wool, which
New
is a
Zealand.
world renowned wool for sure. New Zealand definitely produces the preferred and still dominant wool, I think, for carpet making. Australia, in the last few decades, really took over the production of merino. So most of the world's merino, I think, comes from Australia now.
Okay,
Yeah.
very good. And now with regards to what's the next on your plate? I mean, obviously there's a lot happening behind the scenes. Is there anything else that you want to sort of mention?
Thanks, James. Yeah, I mean, we're working very hard now. We're fielding a lot of interest in the LanaLux lighting and acoustic collection, developing custom designs. We're really excited by the response so far, and we have a lot of commercial specifiers about to use it for interior design. So it's going to be really gratifying to see that take off. We're innovating more carpet collections, and specifically, it's been such a push the last few months with New York Design Week, and then following on that, very immediately after Chicago Design Week and NeoCon. So we're going to take a little bit of time off, hopefully.
Very, very good. So we actually have a
Yeah.
lot more questions that just came in. So first
Okay.
of all, what's your favorite design book or author, and what inspires you the most in that particular work?
What's my favorite what?
Author or book?
Oh, that's an interesting question. Um, Gosh, I haven't been reading very much lately. I've been too busy. I would have to say, I don't know, possibly some of the books I read. I was an avid reader when I was a child, like seriously, a couple of books a week. We didn't have gaming and TV on demand back then.
Yeah.
So I don't know, J.R. Tolkien and C.S. Lewis kind of come to mind as as some of the all-time classic
And,
auteurs.
and the person is actually clarifying that question. Any favorite design books, and I would say magazines that inspire you in
Design
your
books.
design?
Yeah, the first one that there's many, but the first one that jumped into my mind was Dr. Jennifer Goff. She's Irish. She's the Eileen Gray curator at the National Collins or National Museum of Ireland in Collins Barracks. So she wrote the definitive tome on Eileen Gray, and I would recommend reading that for sure.
Okay, super. Now, do you work with any felting artists in Ireland?
I don't work with any felting. We're not at the moment, doing any felting with wool, and we're still kind of looking into it. But in terms of what we're really focused on now, of course, is these air filtration and acoustic properties, and there is some evidence to suggest that for that, the felted wool doesn't work so well. At the moment, though, it is true in the acoustic world that the majority, if you do see wool at all represented as a product range, it is felted. Um, so that's not to say we wouldn't in the future, but at the moment, yeah, not yet.
Thank you. And would you need more natural cleaning chemicals to clean these natural fibers?
Well, I mean, wool has this natural stain resistance. In terms of like a specific product to clean it, it just we have a whole care and cleaning instructions PDF that we always provide customers and clients. I'm happy to email that out to anybody who wants to kind of write into me. We have a few, I think, referenced all natural kind of non-chemical products on there for like the more persistent stains. But yeah, I didn't mention the email, which is Claire@rhymestudio.com, Claire@rhymestudio.com.
And I'll include that in the follow-up email too. And from my personal experience of traveling the island many, many times, most of the sheep on the farms in Ireland do have a dye, which a dye can be removed. So it's pretty evident that the dye can be cleaned, or the wool can be cleaned easily, I guess. So,
Yeah.
and let's see here. How is AI helping or not helping your work today?
That's a good question, because it's really come upon us now in the last 18 months. And there are definitely some big efficiencies for us in terms of research, I think, and, assessment of market standards, marketing and publicity. Um, it's been pretty helpful for sure. We recommend taking everything, all the information you get from AI with a big pinch of salt, though. It's not always correct. It makes mistakes, and sometimes it's just way too opinionated.
Yep.
So,
And one thing that brings us to the next point is that, obviously for a lot of people that are listening, we do have a lot of credible resources here at the library. We do have industry reports in wool. We can find wool manufacturers in Ireland that are importing product to the US, etc., through various databases that we do have, like Panjiva or IBIS Wool, etc. So for those people that are interested, you can always schedule a virtual consultation with a librarian here. We'd be more than happy to help you guys. So at this point, we don't have any further questions, but I just want to say, Claire, thank you so much for a great program today.
thank
Definitely
you very
very
much.
fascinating to get a little bit of in-depth background knowledge on your industry. You're doing amazing things, and we wish you the luck. And hopefully
Very
you'll be
much.
back again for another program in 2027 to give us a little bit more detail.
I would love that. Yeah. Thanks again for having me.
Okay, and for the audience
Okay.
that's tuning in, thank you. I know a lot of folks are tuning in from various parts of the world. Thank you for doing that. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys again on the next adventure here at the Business Center. So cheerio for now, and take care. Thanks, Claire.
Thanks again. Thanks,
Cheerio.
everyone.
Bye.